Hi, this is Mark Wade from CenterCityCondos.com at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox & Roach Realtors. In this podcast, I want to talk to you about a question that comes up very often with a lot of my buyers, and the question is, what about tax abatements? And let's talk about tax abatements and what happens when they expire, and what are the taxes going to be after they expire, and what's going to happen to the values, and blah 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 blah. Okay, so here we go. So the city of Philadelphia had instituted a program called tax abatements that were used to, for some reason, either to spur development or whatever. And so a new building goes up, the developer files for a tax abatement. I've never known anyone to be rejected for a tax abatement. Almost everybody gets them, unless you're like some kind of deadbeat and you owe the city thousands of dollars on a bunch of other buildings you own, then you're not getting your tax abatement. So if you've got clean hands, you get a tax abatement. And it goes to your buyers. So Billy and Susie Byer come in, they buy a brand new construction condominium, and they have a 10-year tax abatement. So let's say that it's the value of the unimproved parcel. So let's say there's a vacant plot of land, and the taxes on that, before anything is built, the taxes on that plot of land are $1,000. And the developer comes in and puts 4 new condos on it. So what's that mean? That means every condo, the taxes for after the building is built, we take the taxes of the unimproved parcel divided by the new number of condos. So if the taxes are $1,000 for this vacant plot of land and there's 4 new condos, that means everybody's taxes are $250 a year for 10 years. If you sell after the 5th year, that tax abatement stays intact and it transfers with title. Tax abatements are not exclusive to a specific owner. They transfer with title. So if you sell after the 5th year and your new buyer comes along and buys it, he gets the remaining life of the tax abatement. If he sells after 2 years, the remaining life of the tax abatement transfers on to the new buyer. Now, tax abatements do not mean that there are no taxes. They're abated, which means they're shrunken, they're smaller, they're lessened, if you will. Now, can your taxes go up if you have an abated? This is a great question, so listen up, boys and girls. Can your taxes go up if your property is abated? Yes. If the city of Philadelphia changes the millage rate, yes, your taxes will go up. So if they say, okay, everything's all parcels are taxed at 2.654% of and they change it to 2.89%, yeah, everybody's taxes goes up, whether you have a tax abatement or not. And that difference is generally nominal. So the question comes along because what happened is the tax abatement started maybe 10, 12, 13 years ago. So there are buildings in town where the tax abatements for the entire building have ended. Think of Dockside or the Phoenix. And there's a number of others I can't think off the top of my head right now. But so the question that gets posed to me often is, do the expiring tax abatements affect the value of that parcel? And I'm going to suggest I've not seen any evidence of that. Because a tax abatement really is just kind of icing on the cake. Nobody really has come to me and said, gee, Mark, I'm only going to buy a parcel or a condo if it has a tax abatement. No, nobody does that. I've not seen anybody do that, and I sell a boatload of condos in this town. But what people will do is they will come and they'll say, maybe it's the driving, maybe it's what pushes them over their edge. If they're on the fence and they're not sure, should they buy this condo or not? Oh, it's got a 10-year tax abatement. Okay, I'll buy it. So maybe, so it's icing on the cake. Have I seen it affect value when the tax abatement expires and the taxes go to to a fair market value of what everybody else in town on a tax abated parcels are paying? Does that affect the value of that condo or that building? I've not seen any evidence of that. There was another point I wanted to make about the tax abatements. Oh, a lot of buyers will ask, well, what are the taxes going to be after the tax abatement is done? And here's what I believe. Now, this could just be all bullshit, but this is what I believe and what I hear and what my sources tell me. So, if you have a condo that, let's say you pay $1 million for, Generally, the city, generally speaking, will assess that at about 90% of value. So in the eyes of the city, they'll see that property is worth $900,000. What the city is suggesting is that the assessed value, the $900,000 times 1.34% will be your new tax base. So if we take $9,000 and we multiply it by 1.34, your new taxes will be somewhere around, I'm doing on my calculator, about $12,000 a year for a condo if you pay $1 million for it. In Florida, the state of Florida, it's 2% per year. So no matter what you buy in Florida, your taxes are 2% of the assessed value. So Philadelphia at 1.34 really isn't that bad. I mean, hell, you want to pay taxes? Go to New Jersey. There's some taxes for you. And I only say that. I've never owned anything in New Jersey, but all my buyers that come from Jersey, they see the tax rates in Philadelphia, and they go out in the middle of the street and start to sing and dance. They're so happy. So tax abatements. Almost everybody gets them who applies for them if they have clean hands. Any developer with clean hands that doesn't have any back taxes owed on other parcels are usually granted a tax abatement, to my knowledge. Tax abatements do transfer with title. What will the taxes be when the tax abatements period is finished? I'm going to guess that it's going to be 1.3% of assessed value, because that's kind of what I hear and what I'm told. And now, what the hell the city of Philadelphia does? Who knows? I mean, I'm not staking my reputation on what the hell the city of Philadelphia is going to do. That would be a horrible move for anyone. But it has been suggested that it's 1.3% of assessed value. Do tax abatements, when they expire, affect the value of a given parcel? I don't believe that's the case. Another question, who's got the best tax abatement in town? Without a doubt, Waterfront Square. No two ways about it. I live there. I know. My taxes are like $250 a year. Because what they did is they took this huge parcel and then put 572 units on it. So they took an unimproved parcel, and then whatever those taxes were, they divided it by 572. So your taxes are diddly squat. I mean, so when people see that, and here's the last point I want to make, and this is really good. There are some buildings in town. Now, I don't know why. Nobody knows. Maybe the man on the moon knows the answer to this question, but nobody knows. So at let's say the Ritz-Carlton, I believe, from what they tell me, all a tax abatement, the tax abatements for every unit in that building started and end on the exact same day. They started, one day 9 years ago, and they all end exactly 10 years later, every unit in the building. However, look at Waterfront Square. Tax abatements in that building started when the very first buyer came along and settled on that project. Day one of the following year after a new buyer bought that condo. So what we have at the Waterfront Square is every single unit, the tax abatement expires on a different day or in a different year, because if somebody bought in 2005, their tax abatement's up in 2015. If somebody bought in 2014, their tax abatement expires in 2024. So it started when the buyer settled and took occupancy of that property. That's when the tax abatement expired. And there's some other buildings in town, like the Ritz and the Murano, where they all expire the exact same day. Now, riddle me that one. How did that happen? Well, I don't have a clue. And again, we're talking about the city of Philadelphia. I would suggest you try not to substitute your judgment for what those big brains are doing. So figure that one out. I have no idea. All I know is that the last units at Waterfront Square just sold. This is right now, we're towards the end of 2015. So there are tax abatements there that started in 2015 and will go to 2025. How do you like them apples? And again, you took a big parcel, you divide it by 572, and your taxes are nothing. So that's everything I know about tax abatements. Could I be wrong about some of the information I'm spewing out here? Absolutely. Do I think I'm wrong about the information I'm spewing out here? Absolutely not. So anyway, questions, comments, or concerns, you pick up the telephone, you push the buttons on the front of it, and you go 215-521-1523. And if I'm sitting at my desk, I will magically pick up the phone and we'll talk about tax abatements. Okay? So anyway, this is Mark Wade. Questions, comments, or concerns, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.